So, last day before the bye week, going to preview the games on Thursday. Take a look at the NFC conference. Did the AFC yesterday, going to do the NFC today. Talk about random topics and kind of send this thing off into the Thanksgiving holiday weekend with a bang. So, let's jump into the 226th installment of the LouieTeeNetwork podcast that starts now. The Louie T Network is powered by the Card Collector Series. Join me, your man, Louie T, on my journey back into the card collecting space with the Card Collector Series on YouTube. Link is in the description. Who else could it be but me, your man, Louie T? Welcome to the 226th installment of the Louie T Network podcast. I, of course, am your set man, Louie T. Thank you for joining me. This episode is going to be very abbreviated. Don't have a ton of time. As you can tell, things have gotten a lot tighter around these parts. And I've got to jump into the kitchen here shortly, among other things. I've been, pretty much a chicken with my head cut off today, trying to get all this stuff done. So want to jump right into the proceedings this evening, start off the show as we always do with the gem dropping session. So let's go ahead and do that quickly. Let me drop this gem on your melon. Open your mind, let your conscience be free. You're now rolling with your man, Louie T double E. Let me open you up, get you thinking a little bit. So NFC is interesting because all the talk early in the season was AFC. Oh, top to bottom, AFC is so much stronger than the NFC. And everyone wanted to talk about how the NFC was top loaded and it was front loaded and there was nothing else after the first 5 teams or so. It was top heavy, right? No substance throughout. Now you look at the NFC and I think the best, 4 or 5 teams reside in the NFC. And I think Indianapolis on the AFC side is scary right now. They're dangerous, and they're not even in the playoffs right now. If the playoffs were to start today, they'd be on the outside looking in. I think there are a couple of teams, maybe 2 or 3 in the NFC who are in the same boat as Indianapolis at this current juncture. Not in the playoffs right now, but as this season continues to wear on, they could be teams to keep an eye on because they could really push some teams, maybe get in and do damage if they are to get in. Let's take a look at the NFC and its standings right now. So the number 1 seed right now, Arizona Cardinals, 9-2. I think they're as legit as it gets. They've had some impressive wins without Kyler Murray in the lineup 2 out of the last 3 weeks. Every time I doubt them, they come up big with a win that I wasn't expecting. So I'm sick of doubting the Arizona Cardinals. They're the best team right now, I think probably in football, if you want to be honest right now. And they'll get Kyler Murray back after this bye week. So they're sitting pretty at 9-2 right now. Behind them, second seed in the NFC are the Green Bay Packers at 8-3. I feel like the Packers are the NFC version of the Ravens, where I look at them and I don't really buy what they're selling. I don't think, unlike the Ravens, however, I don't think they're fraudulent. I don't think the Packers are going to, fall off of a cliff like the Ravens could potentially do. The Ravens are currently the 2 seed in the AFC playoffs, and they could easily not make the playoffs. I don't see that coming to fruition or anything remotely there, close to with the Packers, unless Aaron Rodgers has something go catastrophically wrong. Right now, he's playing with a fractured toe, but he's going to continue to play through that. They've got a bye week coming up. So I don't think that's going to be an issue. The Packers, I don't believe in them, but they are the 2 seed, and I think they're good enough to be the number 1 seed in the NFC when it's all said and done because they'll find ways to win football games. We'll see what happens there. Remember, they beat Arizona, so all they have to do is end up tied with the Cardinals. They'll win the tiebreaker and be the number 1 seed. The Buccaneers are your 3 seed at 7-3. The defending Super Bowl champions hit a little bit of a rough patch there on a 2-game skid. They snapped that with the Giants win on Monday night and look like they're going to get back to their winning ways. The biggest thing for them is they need home field advantage. They're 5-0 at home this season, 2-3 on the road. That's something to keep an eye on. If they can't find a way to get to the number 1 seed or at least the 2 seed, they could potentially find themselves playing a road game before they even get to the NFC Championship game, and that could spell trouble for a team that hasn't been all that great on the road. Dallas is 7-3. When they're good, they're good. When they're not, they're not. When they're at their best, they're a Super Bowl caliber team. When they're at their worst, they're not even a playoff team. They're not even a playoff team. So there's been this really large, spectrum with Dallas, where 1 week they're scoring 43 and blowing out the Falcons 43-3, and then the next week they can't even muster 10 points. Granted, they didn't have all their guys healthy, and CeeDee Lamb left halfway through the game, and no Amari Cooper. I get all of that. They still weren't good against the Chiefs. They weren't good against the Broncos. They were good against the Falcons, and so you never know which Cowboys team is going to show up, honestly. But they're 7-3, and they've played some good football to this point. Rams, I told you, can't quite put my finger on it. They're the 5th seed right now. So if the playoffs started today, I just named all 4 of the division winners: Arizona, Green Bay, Tampa Bay, Dallas, all in respective order, 1, 2, 3, and 4. The first wild card would belong to the Los Angeles Rams, which we know the loser of the AFC or NFC West is going to be your first wild card. It's going to be your 5th seed, more likely than not. Now, there's a nice gap after the top 5 teams. The Rams are 7-3, just like Dallas. And their 3 losses have been ugly losses. That's the problem with the Rams, is their 7 wins, impressive. They look good. The 3 losses, however, similar to Dallas, you go, whoa. What in the hell was that? It's even worse than Dallas because, Dallas wasn't blown out of the loss against the Chiefs. They just didn't play well. They got blown out against the Broncos, did Dallas, but they were right there with Tampa in week 1. Those are Dallas's 3 losses. The Rams' 3 losses: blown out by Arizona at home, blown out by Tennessee at home, and blown out on the road at San Francisco. So they've had 3 ass whoopings administered to them this season, which begs the question, are these guys for real or not? We'll see. They're going to make the playoffs, though, because after the 7-3 Rams, your 6 seed, 7 seed are both 5-5. So there's a drop-off, a 2-game gap between the first 5 seeds and then the next 2 seeds, really. And the Vikings, who are your 6 seed right now at 5-5, and the Saints, who are your 7 seed, also at 5-5 on the season. But I think the AFC has some interesting teams: Cleveland, Indianapolis, on the outside trying to get in. I think the NFC has more interesting teams than the AFC does. San Francisco sits at 5-5. They play Minnesota this week. The winner of that game is going to be in the playoffs. If the playoffs were to start at the end of week 12, the loser is going to be on the outside looking in. The 49ers are hard charging. They're playing some good football right now. They've won 2 in a row. We'll see if they can continue to keep that streak going. Meanwhile, the Saints, who are occupying that 7 seed right now, to me, they are trending in the wrong direction. For me, they're not serious. They're fooling. They're fooling right now. With the drilly with them though, they ain't banging. You know what I'm saying? They're not banging. The Saints, I don't think they can win enough games with their team constituted as is on offense. And with Alvin Kamara being out, that doesn't help them one iota. He's not playing on Thursday night versus the Bills. He didn't play against the Eagles. Without him and already having a disadvantage at the quarterback position just about in every game you play in, they're in trouble, are the Saints. I can't see them holding on to a playoff spot. So I think that 7 seed right now is really up in the air, but the 6 seed is just as well, right? Philadelphia, another team hard charging, winners of 2 straight are the Eagles. 3 out of their last 4 they've won and been victorious. They're starting to run the football. Jalen Hurts is getting into a bit of a rhythm, but I think it's more about the play calling. Nick Sirianni, is figuring out what this team does well offensively, and that's not only helping this offense be a little bit more potent, it's also helping that defense stay off the field because I don't think their defense is very good. So the Eagles are starting to play better football and are gaining confidence. That's the thing to watch for. So are the Carolina Panthers, despite them losing on Sunday to the Washington football team. I think Cam Newton's presence gives them a boatload of confidence. That's a good defense. It's an offense that's going to continue to evolve around Cam Newton and Christian McCaffrey. And I wouldn't count out the Carolina Panthers. Same can be said for the 4-6 Washington football team. They've won 2 in a row. They're starting to play with confidence. They've got a schedule that is very doable if they continue to play the kind of football they've played the last 2 weeks when they defeated the Buccaneers and the Panthers in consecutive weeks. They could be one of those teams coming off the pace. Right time to get hot, and they catch fire, and they could make some noise and make it to the postseason as well. So I feel like the NFC has some teams on the outside trying to get in that are interesting, but it's very top heavy. But there's more substance at the bottom than I think we thought initially when the season started to take shape. Arizona's your 1 seed at 9-2. Green Bay's your 2 seed currently at 8-3. Tampa Bay's your 3 seed at 7-3. Dallas is your 4 seed at 7-4. Those are your division leaders at this point. Then you have your first wild card that belongs to the Los Angeles Rams at 7-3. Your second wild card, the 6th seed, belongs to the Minnesota Vikings at 5-5, and the New Orleans Saints currently hold the 7th seed, but I don't think they're going to be holding it for much longer. They're also 5-5, but losers of 3 straight. So that's your NFC standings. We'll see how those continue to evolve over the next couple of weeks. We'll start to see some of these teams fall off, like the Saints. I believe they're sort of like the Raiders in the AFC. They're going in the wrong direction, and I don't know if there's anything to stop them from going straight downhill, but we will see what happens with the New Orleans Saints. So let's go ahead and transition to social media maneuvers. This is where you guys get to take over the show. As I mentioned, I'm tight on time today, so we'll get as many as we can, move on to our final segment, which will be our first look at Thanksgiving. 3 contests, got Bears at Lions, Raiders at Cowboys, and then the nightcap Bills at Saints. We'll talk about all 3 of those. I'll give you predictions for all 3 of those games, and then we will get out of here. So want to say what's up to 3 people in particular real quick before I forget. I want to give a huge shout out to Twin D. He dropped a blessing on the kid in the Cash App. And I really appreciate that. Twin D said, hey, yo, this is for the twins. Take care of the little ones. Really appreciate you adding to the twin fund. And thank you so much, Twin D, for the love. Really appreciate the contribution and dono. Also, Preston Wesley also dropped a little bit of a dono in the Cash App. Want to acknowledge that and say thank you, Preston. Really do appreciate your kindness and generosity. Thank you so much, Twin D. And Kevin Jones, every now and again drops a couple, little, crumbs for the kid. And I really appreciate that as well, Kevin. So thank you, Kevin Jones, for your contributions throughout the last couple of months as well. Happy holidays. Hawk TV says happy holidays. The Blackout B says happy upcoming Turkey Day, y'all. Patrick West says, what's good, Louie? HTTWFT, what's up, Patrick? And we start off with Mike Lowry. Matter of fact, we got a super chat here from Barrett Downing, my guy, BD. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB, who writes, happy Thanksgiving, my brother and Washington football team fam. Likewise, BD, happy Turkey Day. And like I said, I hope it's a very joyous occasion for you and yours. Mike Lowry writes, Taylor 2-0 versus teams he's played and started against twice. If that's so, that's a good sign. We'll see. Taylor is 2-0 against teams he's played and started against twice. So that's Tampa and that's Carolina. He didn't start against Carolina, but he played against them. Well, he never played against Seattle. So I don't know if that's where you were going with that or not, but he didn't play in the Seattle game. That was all Dwayne Haskins, start to finish. So Now he could have done that he could have played against Seattle and Carolina maybe, but he hasn't done it here. So Emperor Meech, no bye week for you this year. This is the week you do it. Of course, there's a bye week coming. This is the last day. So after today, you'll get no more content from me until next week. So yeah, bye week's coming. Today is the day. Juan Gotti Talking Sports says, don't look now, but December 12th at the crib can be for first place one at a time, of course. But if we win the next two, 6-6, Dallas loses the next two, 7-5. I'm not saying, I'm just saying, I don't expect them to lose both of those games. They could lose both of those games. I don't expect them to lose both of those games. But like you said, anything's possible. Don't hold your breath. And as I've mentioned before, we talk about Dallas. We talk about what they might do, what they should do, don't do, whatever the case may be. The only team we can really hope for anything to happen with is us, because we would love to chase the Cowboys down and bypass the Eagles and win the division. Don't forget about the Eagles either, right? We talk about, that could be for first place. The Eagles could be in first place, not us. You don't know what the situation is going to be. Here's the thing. Bottom line, and to your point, if we're 7-6 and the Eagles are 7-6, we would get the nod because we have the better division record. We would be 2-0 in the division, and the Eagles already lost to Dallas. So technically speaking, yes, if that scenario came to fruition and we beat Dallas and got to 7-6, and all of us were 7-6, Dallas, Washington, and Philadelphia, we would be technically in the lead. But at the end of the day, I want to treat the division like the passing game as a defensive end. We want to stop the run on the way to the quarterback. We want to win the division on the way to getting a wild card, right? So it'd be nice to get the division, but the main focus for me is I just want in. I just want to get in the playoffs. So let's secure one of these wild cards, and if the division should present itself an opportunity, then go after that as well. But winning is going to put you in a position to at least have a chance, but you're going to need help. I don't want to really concern myself with help from others. We got Dallas twice. We got Philadelphia twice. They're both in front of us. Just beat them. Take care of all of these games. Just win. That's it. Bottom line, just win, and everything else will take care of itself. So we'll see what happens. But you're right. Dallas loses their next two. We win our next two. And that game, mid-December is for first place. But again, that's a long shot. One at a time, as you said. Juan Gotti Talking Sports says, why does it seem like we're just limiting ourselves to the 7th seed? We can possibly get the number 6 too. I don't know who we is, but I've already bypassed the 7th seed. I've already talked about that. I said, to hell with the 7th seed. I want the 6th seed. I've already done that whole spiel. So I don't know who we is, but I'm not in that group because I've talked about the 6th seed. Both of the teams that are occupying 6 and 7 have the same exact record and are only a game ahead of us. So why not the 6th seed? I've already made that point abundantly clear. Got another super chat. This one is from Kyle. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy Kyle writes, Terry McLaurin is so good, Lou. Watching him play is really fun. Washington football team, like my Vikes, need to target our studs. Jefferson like 10 times per game minimum. Yeah, there's a sense that those guys have to get their targets, but at the same time, you don't want to force it to those guys. Maybe Justin Jefferson, you do want to force it to him, but I don't want to force it to Terry McLaurin. Because the other team knows that he's really good and he should get the football too. So I want to pick my spots. I would like to spread it around. I actually think we're doing a really good job of spreading the football around to take some of that attention off of Terry right now, because we don't have an Adam Thielen opposite of Terry McLaurin. So we don't have that other guy that can be a problem that teams have to focus on so that Justin Jefferson still gets one-on-one. It's just Terry McLaurin right now, and so the other guys collectively as a group have to be the number 2 wide receiver. We don't have a guy right now as constituted to be the number 2 wide receiver, but we got some quality guys, Adam Humphries and DeAndre Carter stepped up in a major way. So we've had, and Cam Sims is stepping up. We've had guys, step up, but they have to do it as a collective group. So Terry, I think, just like you said with Justin Jefferson, you need to get those guys in football. I can never understand how you can have a stud receiver and he doesn't have, any more than, 8 to 12 attempts per game minimum. Like that just doesn't make any sense to me. Thank you for the super chat, Kyle. Jonathan Hankey says, happy Thanksgivings, Louie. Hope you and your family have a great turkey dinner. God bless and be safe, Louie. Likewise, man, I really do appreciate that. And same can be said for you and yours and the rest of you out there watching or listening to this. Happy Thanksgiving. Be safe and enjoy the day with family and friends and those who matter. Jonathan Hankey says, hopefully my Colts can win out these next few games and make it to the playoffs. I can tell you this much. You're playing as good a football as anybody in the league right now. You're a scary team that nobody really wants to play. I'm anxious to see how you play against Tampa. This is, you've gotten on a hot streak here, but you beat, the Jets, and Buffalo was a big win, and that was on the road. That was impressive. But now I want to see, you beat Houston and you beat the Jets. You beat some teams where you're like, okay, now I want to see what this Colts team is all about. You get the Bucks at the crib. You just destroyed the Bills. Can you keep it going? We'll see. I'm anxious to see what happens there. Mike Lowry says, damn, Lou, seems like our protect Gettleman at all costs plan is falling apart. I mean, look, we can only do our part. We can only do what we can do. And I told you I was done with that. Too many losses to Daniel Jones. I'm over it. That's why we had to beat him in week 2. If he has to go, he's got to go. He's done enough damage already. And his damage will outlast him, whether he's there or not. His damage will continue to be felt once he's gone. So at this point, I can't support. So I can't support. Keep Gettleman at all costs or protect Gettleman at all costs anymore, because that involved us losing, and I can't do that anymore to the Giants. I just can't. Jason Bree, thank you for the super chat, or thank you for the comment, who writes, ever been to Europe or Germany? No. Says, what do you think about the Germany game, which will start next year on? As a German, we're hyped. I'm excited to see. It reminds me, remember, the NFL used to have NFL Europa. So they used to play over, and, they had a Germany team. I think it was in Berlin, if I'm not mistaken. And so they had all kinds of teams that would play, and obviously they weren't, players that were playing in the NFL, but it's almost like a minor league system, a farm system for the NFL. So I'm anxious to see it get back over to Germany. I really am, and see, what kind of exposure the league will have over there, and how excited they'll be. It's always fun to look at the London fans. A lot of times I look at the London fans and I'm like, I don't know. I'm not sure if they quite know what they're watching. And that's disrespectful, because I don't know. But some of them look like they're just there for a good time. They threw on a random jersey. You'll see a Dolphins jersey. It'll be the Jags and the Falcons. You'll see a random, Dolphins jersey, and you'll see a Rams jersey. Just like they threw on a random jersey, and they like, hey, it's a reason to go out, have some cold ones, and have some fun. So I want to see how the Germany fans will respond to the NFL, because it hasn't been there in so long. Football, in this capacity, hasn't been there in so long, and they've never had an actual regular season game. It's always been, like I said, NFL Europe football. So it'll be fun to see what happens. Booker writes, considering they play soon and Washington got them boys soon, what's with the Raiders' annual midseason collapse? This seems to happen every single year. It does seem to happen every year. And, what that really says to me is a couple of things. One, you don't have the kind of depth that it takes to, last in the NFL, because it's a war of attrition. That guys are going to get injured. Can you find a way to circumvent those injuries, stay afloat until those guys come back and still win ball games? That's number one. Number two is I look at the Raiders, and there's always some kind of fatal flaw with this team every single year. Last year, their fatal flaw was their defense. They just were not good defensively. They were putrid defensively, and that's going to catch up to you eventually. You're going to win some shootouts like they did against Kansas City last year, 40-32 on the road at Arrowhead. You'll win some of those, but you know what? You're going to lose more games than you're going to win when your defense is as abysmal, because you don't have Aaron Rodgers or Tom Brady or, one of these elite quarterbacks to, outlast, another team's offense and find a way to put up more points. You got Derek Carr. There's only so many times Derek Carr can pull magic out of his hat before he turns it over or he makes a mistake. And so the defense is actually better this year. That's not the reason you're not getting it done. The defense is actually good enough for you to win games. Now the problem is offense. And that's where Gruden came into play. And because Gruden is no longer there, these are all his pieces. These are all the guys that he sought out to add to this roster to give them the best chance to win. And now you got a bunch of guys calling plays and putting these guys in positions that, weren't the ones that you felt like these guys fit this team to a T. So I feel like this team has dealt with a lot of adversity, and they haven't really responded as well as you would like them to. But that's to be expected. When you lose your head coach, and he wasn't terrible and he didn't get fired because he stunk, but he got fired because of some scandal and controversy, and then you have one of your young players end up having, to pretty much be banished from the league and faces some serious prison time because of a silly decision, it affects your team mentally. So there's a lot going on with the Raiders right now, and it'd be easy to try to reduce it to just one or two things. They're not playing well on offense right now. They and I've always said I don't think they have enough good guys at receiver. I feel like that's an issue. Your best two players are a slot receiver and a tight end, and you're not getting anything out of Deshaun Jackson yet. It's hit or miss with anything that you're getting out of Bryan Edwards. One game he looks like a stud. The next game he's on a milk carton. And, Zay Jones is Zay Jones. It's just not enough. And again, Gruden knew how to use all of those parts. I don't feel like they're being utilized correctly right now. It was good to see Darren Waller get off, though, against the Bengals. It seemed like it had been a while since he had one of those games where he was up over 100 yards receiving. That was a thing when Gruden was there. It seemed like he was over 100 yards almost every single week. The Raiders, and I've said this before, and I'll say it again. I don't think they're a mentally tough team. I think that's part of the collapse portion of the Raiders. I don't think that's a mentally tough football team. I could be wrong about that. K80 Tick, thank you for being a member of the MOBB, who writes, Samuel and Thomas look good. Positive vibes only. Thanksgiving, brother. Hope the missus and the babies are doing well. Congrats and good luck. LOL. Thank you for all of the well wishes. And let's hope that Thomas and Curtis Samuel stay that way and continue trending in the right direction. One day at a time with those guys. That's how I take it. All right. Rich says, first of all, thank you for being a member of the MOBB, who writes, it's long overdue, but my Wizards had to smack the Grizzlies after you was talking that shit and left the podcast, but I should have said it earlier. Yeah, I was waiting for that. And nobody said anything, so I thought I was going to skate, but obviously I didn't. Yeah, we didn't play a good game that night at all. We got smoked. And that's the inconsistency of a young basketball team, a young team in general, but a young basketball team. The other night we beat the Jazz in a thriller, and we played well, found a way to win on the road. And, the night before that, we got destroyed by the Timberwolves, who aren't even that good of a team. And we had already beaten them once this season. So that's the inconsistency you get with a young basketball team. So you called us on one of those nights where we just didn't have it. And we didn't give the maximum effort, and you guys were able to take it to us pretty good. We actually swept you last year. So I felt confident going into the game, and we did not take care of business. Rich says, enjoy your bye and happy Thanksgiving. Likewise. Really appreciate that. Rich also says, it's a weird time in the AFC, so who do you have coming out of there? NFC too, even though that's less open. The AFC, right now, if I had to pick a team in that conference, I think I'd be the most comfortable still with the Chiefs. Their defense is playing at an all-time high. I haven't seen their defense play this well probably since the Tamba Hali, Justin Houston days. Like they're playing at another level defensively. I don't know if that's sustainable for them or not, but they got a ton of talent on that side of the football, and they're really playing up to it for the first time in a long time. And it's still Patrick Mahomes, it's still Tyreek Hill, it's still Travis Kelce. Clyde Edwards-Helaire coming back is going to be huge for them. He looked good against Dallas. They still got talent, man. So still Mecole Hardman, still Demarcus Robinson. There's still talented football guys on that team. I'm still rocking with the Chiefs until someone knocks them off. I just don't see anybody out there that really scares me. And I don't see any teams that I don't think the Chiefs can handle. Vegan Hippie says, it's some real London fans, bro. I've seen some British dudes watching all 22 breaking down schemes and coverages perfectly. LOL. I'm not saying all of them are clueless. I'm just talking about some of the pan shots you see of some of these fans at the game. They look like they're just out to have a good time. And there's nothing wrong with that. I don't want to put a blanket statement over all, English fans, because that's not true. Some of them are diehards. Hell, some of the people that we talk to that are Washington fans are from across the pond. They're diehards. So I don't want to make it seem like it's all, English fans, because that's not the case. Mike Lowry says, will the Raiders 2020 draft class go down as one of the worst ever? It has a chance to. I don't know what the hell Mike Mayock was doing in that draft, but it has a chance to. Cleveland Farrell, and they've already released the Ohio State corner. I can't think of his name already. They drafted Tanner Muse in that draft. He's not even on their team anymore in the 3rd round. Yeah, they did some pretty hideous things in that draft. They really, truly did. And it didn't get much worse than that. So yeah, that's going to go down as one of the worst drafts we've seen in recent memory for sure. Damon Arnett, thank you. Yes. And another reason why you want to know why the Raiders stink. That's why you can't have whole entire drafts like that be pretty much non-existent in a wash. I mean, that draft was terrible. Rich writes, one thing I love about Taylor is everyone gets some love and then he spreads the ball around. We've been playing complete football. We must keep this up and we'll be scary for years. We'll see about that. One game at a time. I can't talk about what we'll do 2 weeks from now, a month from now, years from now is crazy talk for me. I can't even tell you what we'll do 2 weeks from now, let alone years from now. So anyway, I digress. Let's transition to our final segment of the day, garbage time. And we're going to take a look at those Thursday night games. There were so many things I wanted to talk to you guys about. Did you guys hear about Everson Griffin and his situation? This is an ongoing saga with him. This is not the first time that he's had some issues mentally and barricaded himself in the house with a weapon, and he's got some mental issues, man. He's got some serious stuff going on. We've heard about all these players. We talked about mental health with these players. I brought up Terry McLaurin, having that conversation at one of his pressers. We've seen Lane Johnson take some time away from football. Still, Calvin Ridley has not come back to the Falcons yet as he deals with his mental issues and mental health. This is a real thing, man. And I don't know if this, everybody loves to chalk up situations like this to CTE. He could have some mental problems. Like he could be schizophrenic. He could be manic depressive. He could have some serious issues mentally, that requires medicine and psychiatric help. Not just, it's CTA. You can't just chalk everything up to CTE. So I hope his situation ends peacefully because the police were at his residence. He refused to come out the last time I heard about it. And that situation could get ugly quickly. So prayers out to him and his family and those who love Everson Griffin. Hope that situation is resolved peacefully and no one is harmed. There was another post that I wanted to talk about. We'll do that another day. You know how Ree always talks about what guys look like, what they would be if they weren't NFL head coaches. Well, there was a random post that I saw of a guy that I think Black Adam Schefter had this post that he got from somewhere else, and he posted it on his Twitter account where he talked about all of these coaches in the NFL, all 32 of them, and what they looked like their job would be if they weren't an NFL coach. We'll talk about that another day. Let's jump into these Thanksgiving games real quick and get out of here. So, Chicago at Detroit. This game is as unwatchable as it gets. The only thing that was going to make this game somewhat tolerable was Justin Fields playing. Well, he's out with ribs. So at this point now, I don't know if Jared Goff is playing. We could get Andy Dalton versus Tim Boyle. I remember a couple of years ago, it was a similar situation where Detroit stunk, and it was Mitchell Trubisky against some random dude like David Blau, I think it was, on Thanksgiving. Like, I think we're heading towards that again. Yeah. Flip a coin. Like, I could easily see the Bears getting their first win. Like, literally, their whole squad is out. Allen Robinson is doubtful. Khalil Mack obviously isn't playing. I think they're going to be without like two more receivers and like a tight end. Like, they're all kinds of banged up. And yet, I still think they're going to beat Detroit. The Detroit Lions are just awful. And what I saw from Tim Boyle, it wasn't the greatest weather day, but what I saw from him was absolutely horrid. And unless that was, him being compromised by the weather and he'll play much better indoors in a controlled environment, the only way they can win this game is if DeAndre Swift goes apeshit. He's the only answer the Lions have for the Bears. If he can't get off, they can't win. I'll take Andy Dalton. He's a veteran. He'll find a way to spread the football around. I think they still have Mooney and some of the other guys healthy. That should be enough. Give me the Bears to take care of the Lions and keep them winless on the season. That's a coin flip, really. Honestly, I usually just go with the home team, but the Lions are so bad, I think I'm just going to go with the Bears. The second game of the triple header features the Las Vegas Raiders and the Dallas Cowboys. I've talked about the free fall nature of the Raiders. Don't think they're going to beat Dallas, yada, yada, yada. But then I look at Dallas, and their situation doesn't look that much better. They may be without both CeeDee Lamb and without Amari Cooper. They're all kinds of banged up. They're not playing with confidence. I want to pick the Raiders so bad. I really do. But the Raiders aren't a good football team. And I just can't see Dallas losing to the Raiders. I see them bouncing back this week, getting a win on a short week. They get Tyron Smith back, which is huge because they've been struggling on the offensive line. I think he helps fortify it and keeps Dak upright. They run it a little bit. The Bengals had some tremendous success on the ground against the Raiders. I think the Cowboys will look to do the same. I'll take the Cowboys in the second game of the doubleheader. Man, I want to pick the Raiders badly, and if they win, I will not be surprised because I don't think they have an answer for Darren Waller, and I don't think they can check Hunter Renfrow, but I just don't think they have enough offensively to outlast the Cowboys. Give me Dallas and that run game over the Raiders in the second game. And then finally, you have the nightcap of Bills at Saints. Bills coming off of a ugly thrashing at the hands of the Bills or Colts, excuse me. Meanwhile, the Saints are free falling. They've lost 3 in a row. They can't get right, and they won't have Alvin Kamara. There's no way in hell they're winning this game at the crib against a Bills team that is desperate and really, is probably taking a hard, long look in the mirror. Like, they're doing some self scouting right now and some introspective work to turn it up, because at one point after that Chiefs beat down on a Sunday night, they were the prohibitive favorites in the AFC. Now, they're the 7th seed. They're one loss away from being on the outside looking in to the playoffs. So they need help, and I think this Saints team is the perfect elixir for the Bills. I think they'll take care of business. I'm not saying it'll be a blowout because that Saints defense at times can be dominant, but I think they're starting to wear down because of the lack of success of the Saints offense. And I think that's what's going to happen. They're going to wear down in this game. Josh Allen's going to take control of that Saints defense. They need to run it more, do the Buffalo Bills. I don't know if this is the week, though. The Saints run defense is one of the best in football. I'll take the Bills, however, on the road to right the ship and get a much needed win. So to recap, I'm taking the Bears in the opener on Thanksgiving. I'm taking the Cowboys in the afternoon game, and then I'm taking the Bills for the nightcap. So 2 out of the 3 games I'm going with the road team. That makes me uncomfortable, but I think it's the right thing to do. So with that said, that's going to do it for me, your man, Louie T. I'm going to go ahead and glide to the side and get out of here, allow you to start your Thanksgiving weekend. I've got some cooking to do, and my wife is looking at me with the side eye because we're supposed to have left the house 15 minutes ago. So I got to get out of here. You guys enjoy your Thanksgiving holiday, and make sure you enjoy the 5 F's, as I always tell you: food, family, faith, friends, and football, in whatever order you so choose. Until next time, I'm your man, Louie T, signing off. Remember, get off the bench, get in the game, and kick it with me, your man, Louie T. Enjoy the bye week. I will see you guys on Monday for Washington football overtime. Until then, you guys take care. God bless and good night.